On Sunday's video, I said there were 3 things you could count on in life: death, taxes, and a late round running back that nobody expects to come out of nowhere and help people win fantasy championships. And while that's true, it's not always the case at wide receiver. You can't point to many years and say that late round wide receiver won people championships. But we can find late round wide receivers who can at least help us throughout the season and maybe turn into wide receiver 3s or wide receiver 2s, or if we're lucky, a league-winning wide receiver. So let's take a look at 10 of my favorite late-round wide receivers. And before I get into that, I got to remind you, flockfantasy.com/endgame is the place to be this fantasy season. If you're a dynasty player, we have a dynasty startup course, we have a rookie draft course, plus we still have 2 spots left in our dynasty endgame league. The next 2 people to sign up to flockfantasy.com/endgame are in the league. You don't have to pay for the league, but if you win, you get $100. If you finish second, you get $50. And everybody's going to get a free endgame shirt, so you definitely want to do that right away. Also, for your redraft players, we're going to have a course on redraft to help you with everything to crush your draft, everything you need for that. Plus, during the season, help you with your waiver wire, help you set that lineup, everything you need to take home the trophy. flockfantasy.com/endgame. All right, let's jump into it. I got to let you know these are not in any particular order other than where they're being drafted right now. So let's start with Elijah Moore, who I've talked about a bunch this entire offseason. Already liked him as a player. He's a way better player than the numbers show. But now I love him in Cleveland because he's going to get put into that slot role more than likely. You got Amari Cooper, you got DPJ. They just drafted Cedric Tillman. He's going to be able to play that slot role, which I think he's much better suited for. And I think he's going to be a beast in this offense. This offense was one of the run heaviest offenses last year, but they didn't have Deshaun Watson for most of the year, and when they did, he wasn't very good. Now with a full offseason, he should be better. They've added so many weapons to this passing game. They are absolutely going to throw the ball a lot more, and people don't think they will. I'm still all about Elijah Moore, especially at his ADP at 106, wide receiver 50. Moving down a little bit, I got Jakobi Meyers, current ADP 117, wide receiver 53, and I get it. He has not put up great numbers because he was stuck in New England with A, bad quarterbacks, and B, a bad passing offense. Now he's going to the Raiders. You might think, well, this isn't going to be much better. They got Jimmy G. But one thing I really like about Jakobi Meyers, well, 2 things. Number 1, he's actually really good, really talented wide receiver. He just didn't get maximized in New England. But the other thing I like is Jimmy G is not a gunslinger. He's not the kind of guy who's going to chuck it deep. That's not the strength of his game. The strength of his game is quick, short passes, and I think that plays to Jakobi Meyers' strengths. I think we see potentially the best season we've ever seen from Jakobi Meyers this year. And outside of Devontae Adams, who do they really have to throw to? So Jakobi Meyers, being completely slept on, should get a ton of targets in this offense. And then moving down a little bit at wide receiver 56, ADP 125, I got Sky Moore. Look, why do we give up on rookies so fast? I remember back in the day, you gave these rookies 2, 3, maybe even 4 years to pan out. Now, rookie doesn't, break out year 1. They're a bust. But you got to be encouraged by what you saw from Sky Moore last year. No, he didn't put up great numbers. I thought he could do better versus, the competition they had there. But he was kind of relegated to play a lot of X, a lot of flanker because they had Juju in the slot. Well, now Juju's gone. I think they're going to move him to the slot more. And if you take out the numbers last year and just look at the player, he was pretty much just as good last year as he was in college. The difference is he didn't play a lot of snaps, and he wasn't playing in Western Michigan. He was playing in an Andy Reid offense. That is a big jump. But the encouraging thing here is when he was on the field, he got targeted 27% of the time when he ran a route. That is a huge target share for any player, let alone a rookie. I think in year 2, more experience in this offense, getting to play more out of the slot as well with the potential of that target share. And look, they haven't really improved this wide receiver room at all. In fact, I would argue it's gotten worse. So don't give up on Sky Moore yet. He still has a ton of potential in this offense, especially at his ADP, worth the gamble. All right, now I got my first rookie, and it is Jonathan Mingo, currently ADP 131, wide receiver 58. But this is a guy that was drafted with the 39th pick in this year's draft after the Carolina Panthers selected Bryce Young with the number 1 pick. So what does that tell you? Well, I'll tell you what that tells me. They look at this like, okay, we just drafted our franchise quarterback. We need to get him a franchise wide receiver he could play with. And Jonathan Mingo could be that guy. Outside of the big 3 wide receivers and maybe Zay Flowers and Josh Downs, he was one of my favorite wide receivers in this class. He's a big wide receiver, And if they let him play out of the slot, if they let him have that big slot role, I think he can have a monster year in year one. Again, this is another team with not a lot of pass catchers. I mean, DJ Chark, Terrace Marshall, Shi Smith. I mean, there's not a lot of competition here. Not hard to see a path for Jonathan Mingo being the leading target getter on this team. And Bryce Young is a quarterback that can step in and perform right away. So Jonathan Mingo at this price, well worth it. All right, then how about second-year wide receiver Alec Pierce out of Indy? ADP 143, wide receiver 63. Like, I get it, another rookie. Didn't break out year one, so he must be a bust. But he showed signs last year. He looked good. He has that home run speed. And now he gets Anthony Richardson, who, say what you want about his accuracy, he's definitely got issues there. But the guy can sling it. He can get it down the field. They did not have a quarterback last year that could sling it by any means. This offense is going to throw the ball deep more often. Will they connect more often? I don't know, but there's going to be plenty of chances for Alec Pierce to hit huge home run touchdowns this year. And when you're looking at players this late, you're not looking for a guy to give you a nice, safe, high floor. You're looking for a guy that can win you your week when you're in a pinch, either buys, injuries, whatever it is. I think Alec Pierce can do that this year. So definitely keep your eye on Alec Pierce in your drafts. Then another young wide receiver that I've talked a lot about is Nico Collins in Houston. Current ADP 147, wide receiver 65. They got their franchise quarterback in CJ Stroud, and they really haven't done a lot in this wide receiver room. I mean, they signed like dusty old Robert Woods. They drafted Tank Dell, who I just really don't like Tank Dell as a prospect. I don't think he's that good as a prospect. John Mechie coming back from leukemia. There is definitely a path here for Nico Collins, and he showed signs in year 3 last year that he was starting to progress. He was starting to figure it out. Now with an actual quarterback under center for this offense, I think we see him get even better. Maybe not a total breakout this year, but I think a good enough player to be a flex, a wide receiver 3. And when we're talking about somebody drafted this late, you'll take that. All right, back to a rookie. I got Jaden Reed, ADP 179, wide receiver 77. In case you don't know who Jaden Reed is, he was a good prospect who we liked, and he got drafted to a great situation in Green Bay because he's going to be able to play that slot flanker role alongside Christian Watson, which I think he's perfect for. My only concern here is, can Jordan Love actually support an offense that can support Christian Watson and Jaden Reed as fantasy relevant wide receivers? We shall see. But at this point in your fantasy draft, at this ADP, why not find out? Because the player is good enough. It's not anything to do with Jaden Reed himself. He's a good player. He got the draft capital. He's in a good situation where his role is clear. Don't have to worry about it. So he's a guy, again, getting late in your drafts. We see it all the time with these rookie wide receivers. They don't do much the first half of the year. Second half of the year, they help your team. He's a guy, draft, stash him on your bench, or if he goes undrafted in your league, keep an eye on him on your waiver wire. All right, then going a little bit deeper here, ADP 184, wide receiver 80 is Isaiah Hodgins, who finished the season really strong, even into the playoffs last year. And really, we shouldn't feel like that should change this year because what have the Giants done? They traded for Darren Waller, but sorry, he's old and dusty. They didn't make any significant moves at wide receiver. I know people are going to say they drafted Jalen Hyatt, but if you understand Jalen Hyatt, you realize he's not very good. He's a one-trick pony. He's a run-straight, fast kind of guy. Isaiah Hodgins can run more of the routes, more of the short, intermediate routes. And when your quarterback is Daniel Jones and you're in a conservative offense, that's actually a benefit. There's no reason to think this Giants offense is suddenly going to start chucking the ball all over the field. They have a pretty good defense. They should have Saquon Barkley. We'll see. But they don't want to win games by relying on Daniel Jones' arm. So Isaiah Hodgins, especially in like your PPR leagues, maybe not so much in a standard scoring or where touchdowns are really important, but in your PPR leagues, Isaiah Hodgins, one of these guys, again, you can draft late, you can throw him in as a flex, maybe even as a wide receiver 3, and who knows, maybe he has a mini breakout this year. All right, I talked about Jonathan Mingo as one of my favorite rookie wide receiver prospects outside of the top 4 or 5 guys, but I also really like Cedric Tillman. And he's currently being drafted with ADP 211 and wide receiver 91, so he's basically free, but he shouldn't be. Because he went to Cleveland. And I already talked about it a little bit with Elijah Moore. They are going to pass more. I know you don't think they are because teams just do what they do. That's what you think. But look, the Vikings went from one of the run-heaviest teams to one of the pass-heaviest teams. The Eagles went significantly more pass-heavy. when teams build that kind of personnel, they're going to throw more. You win by throwing the football in today's NFL. And everything the Browns have done says we are going to throw more. They traded for Elijah Moore. They drafted Cedric Tillman. They are absolutely going to throw more. And Cedric Tillman is one of the few guys in this class who I actually liked as a true X receiver. Who's the X receiver in Cleveland right now? It's Peoples-Jones, who's okay, but what has he ever really done? Don't be surprised if after the bye, we see that rookie bump after the bye. We see it every year. Don't be surprised if Cedric Tillman starts to take over that role and unseat DPJ, because DPJ is on the last year of his contract. They are not tied to him past this year. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Tillman becomes a starting X receiver by the end of the year. And again, he's free in your drafts. And then finally, one more rookie who didn't get a lot of pre-draft buzz because he couldn't do any really athletic testing or anything, but that is Tyler Scott, now the Chicago Bears, currently ADP 215, wide receiver 106. So again, completely free. But this is another guy, a slot type receiver, who compares very favorably to Sterling Shepard. And I know what you might think, oh, that guy, he's a bum. He never did anything. That's not true. He just got hurt a lot. He missed a lot of games. But when Sterling Shepard was on the field and healthy, he was very, very good. I think Tyler Scott can be a great player in this league. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not a great prospect, 4th-ish round draft capital. But he goes to a good situation where, who do they have there? DJ Moore. Okay, DJ Moore, a guy plays all over the field. Chase Claypool, he looks like a bust. He looks like a one-hit wonder. Darnell Mooney, he's okay. Tyler Scott should be in this slot role, and I think he's going to get a decent target share. It would not surprise me one bit if he's the number 2 target getter, at least in the second half of the season. Again, once he gets used to the offense and up to speed in the NFL. So another guy who's free in pretty much every draft. If you're in a deeper league, go ahead and draft him. But if not, make sure you keep your eyes on him and don't let him get snagged by somebody else on the waiver wire when he starts to get more work. All right, so those are 10 wide receivers I am targeting late in my drafts. But if you want to see the running backs I'm targeting, check out this video right here.